What I think is really special about winemaking at Beaulieu is the attention to detail.
I love the tradition, this spirit of innovation and making wine and making wines that are delicious.
Each and every person who works here at Beaulieu Vineyard truly honors the history, and they do it with so much pride.
Georges Latour was the founder of Beaulieu Vineyard, and he came to California in the late 1800s with the singular vision of producing world-class quality varietal wines.
My great-grandfather, Georges de Latour, actually was really an entrepreneur. He was familiar with good quality terroir, having been born in Bordeaux, and he knew what he was looking for. He spent several years analyzing the microclimates and the soils, and he decided that the Napa area was an area where he wanted to focus.
He settled on Rutherford in 1900, and that's where he first planted the original 4 acres.
The 1st of May in 1900, it was foggy that particular day, and my great-grandmother arrived here when the fog cleared, and she said, "Quel beau lieu," meaning in French, what a beautiful place.
The part that Prohibition played in the history of Beaulieu Vineyard was very important. The only way one could legally produce wine during that time period was for sacramental use. Madame de Latour got the original contract to supply the Archdiocese of San Francisco, and then ballooned from there, where Beaulieu was producing wines for archdioceses across the United States. And so the winery actually quadrupled in size during Prohibition. And I think most importantly, what it allowed the winery to do was seamlessly change gears into commercial production once Prohibition was repealed. With the production of the 1936 Cabernet, Georges de Latour realized in order to make wines consistently like that, he needed someone trained in the actual science behind winemaking.
My grandfather, Gaston de Pins, and my great-grandfather, Georges de Latour, in 1936, they went to Paris and they set up a meeting with the Institut National Agronomique, and that was the mecca as far as top-quality viticulturists and enologists. Within a couple of hours, they knew that this young man, André Victorovich Shelichev, was the man to work for the family here in the Napa Valley. The team being André, my great-grandfather, and my great-grandmother, they drew from Europe the classic ways of making wine. There was a great love of Europe, but also there was a great love of the United States. That particular blending of those talents made for a wonderful relationship and a partnership, frankly.
One of the things that's kept me excited about being at Beaulieu is the continuity. I got to work with André. He not only brought the science of winemaking to Beaulieu, but really brought the science of winemaking to the Napa Valley. Currently, Beaulieu owns about 1,100 acres, from the northern part of the valley in Calistoga down to St. Helena, with a big focus here in Rutherford, and then all the way south into Carneros. What you see behind me is the original vineyard that Georges de Latour first planted in 1900, known as BV1. It's still the source of some of the grapes that go into our flagship wine, the Georges de Latour. The second property that Georges de Latour founded and planted is known as BV2.
It's a beautiful vineyard because the sunlight that we get and the exposures that we get on this vineyard site are perfect for Cabernet and Merlot. The Rutherford appellation gives these qualities of, we call it Rutherford dust. It can be like walking through a berry patch on a hot summer day. It's also the texture of the wines. BV 5, 8, and 9 are 3 vineyards that we have in the Carneros appellation down on the Napa Valley side. In Carneros, we primarily grow Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. Carneros is a great region because it's so close to the San Pablo Bay, so we really get this nice cooling effect that really helps with the varietals that respond well to less warm temperatures.
Harvest for us at Beaulieu typically starts in the middle of September, depending on the variety, and will go till the end of October, finishing up with Cabernet Sauvignon. We're 2 weeks or so prior to harvest. What we're looking for now is real even distribution of fruit and real good exposure to sun so that you get full coloration on the whole surface of the fruit. It actually creates the intensity of aroma and flavor compounds. I sleep pretty well at harvest. People would maybe not believe that.
We have a lot of options of things we can bring into the vineyard with us to assess the fruit and whether it's ready to pick. I prefer to use my fingers and my mouth. I'll show up in the vineyard with my dog, roll up and down the rows, popping berries in our mouths, and there just gets to be this point where the grapes sing to you. You can't question any longer that it's right to pick.
Once the grapes are picked, delivered immediately to the winery.
It's all hands on deck, making sure that we get every ounce of fruity quality and all the beauty of that grape out into the resulting wine. When we're harvesting for the Rutherford Cabernet Sauvignon, we usually pick in small batches. We try to keep as little pressure on the grapes as we can. We bring it into the winery when the grapes are cool so that we can gently process. In 2006, we decided to start barrel fermenting Cabernet because we wanted to get the integration of the grape and the oak as soon as possible. Through doing that, we want to achieve wines that are true to themselves, have great expressions of the land that they're coming off of, showcasing our passion for winemaking.
The winemaking team tastes wine daily during harvest. We can taste anywhere from 30 to 100 some odd samples.
This is about 60, 65 samples. In 2007, we started working with Michel Rolland, who is probably one of the most highly regarded, world-renowned winemaking consultants.
I remember when I came first in the valley 25 years ago, the first wine, or the first name we hear was Georges de la Tour at this time. It was the brand of the valley. And so now for me to work in that brand and to try to make this brand stronger as it is, that's a great challenge and I love that.
What I think is really special about winemaking at Beaulieu is the attention to detail. An example, it's really the new winery that we have established for Georges de la Tour.
All the best fruit from BV1 or BV2 go into the Georges de la Tour. It's processed differently than the rest of the winery. It's handled much more delicately.
We're out in BV2 and picking grapes tonight for the Georges de la Tour wines. Generally pick the grapes at night when it's super cold, just to retain all the flavour and the colour and the berries.
These are Cabernet Sauvignon. They are dumped slowly onto the conveyor belt, get destemmed, dropped through to the sorting table, and get the best out of what we can.
It's different from the rest of the winery because we go into both tank and barrels as whole berries.
The fruit will come off the line, go into the barrel. We'll pull it off the line, put the head back in, and go hammer downtown.
The Georges de la Tour Artisan Winery is a $7 million state-of-the-art facility. We were the first ones in the U.S. to have the oxalate. Barrel rolling in the quantities in which we do here at this facility is extremely unique to the valley.
They get rolled 3 times a day, twice one direction and twice another. It takes a lot of skill. This is one of the things that make Georges de la Tour quality.
My name is Jeffrey Stambord.
Jeffrey he's a great winemaker.
He's a great knowledge source as far as the history of Beaulieu Vineyard.
His stories about Andre and Andre's concepts of winemaking have really helped me to see and feel as if I were a part of the history of the winery.
Dominica brings a great sensory benefit to the team.
That one smells great.
Whether she's making Chardonnay or the Napa Cab or the George, she just has this really amazing palate.
Elizabeth is very analytical.
I've been at BV for 12 years and I started out in the lab. What I learned was I really liked the science of winemaking.
What she really brings to our team is this sense of wanting to bring the history of Napa Valley into her winemaking. Her family grows grapes, so she has that connection to the land and that process.
3 words that I'd use to describe Dominica: engaged, enthusiastic, inquisitive.
3 words that I'd use to describe Elizabeth: tall, passionate, energetic, and detail-oriented.
That's 4 words.
3 words to describe Jeffrey: extremely knowledgeable, really good historical perspective.
That's 4.
Enthusiastic.
Each one of us keeps the others centered.
Beaulieu Vineyard Coastal Estates wines are made by a dedicated team down on the Central Coast. They really are striving to deliver BV quality wines, but at an everyday affordable price point. The Beaulieu appellation tier of wines is really made up of a group of wines that are meant to express the region that they come from. We have our Napa Cabernet Sauvignon, we have our Napa Merlot, We have the Rutherford Cabernet Sauvignon.
And Beau Rouge, a unique blend driven by Cab and Merlot, but with a slight twist.
We have our Carneros Chardonnay, and we have the Carneros Pinot Noir.
The reserve tier wines were really the highest artistic expression of that varietal at Beaulieu. It currently consists of the Reserve Carneros Pinot Noir, the Reserve Carneros Chardonnay, Tapestry, and then the Georges de Latour Private Reserve Cabernet Sauvignon.
The real essence of Beaulieu is that we feel a sense of family, and each and every person who works at BV feels that sense of family, as well as they want to honor the history of the winery.
I love to honor the tradition of Beaulieu Vineyard.
The spirit of Beaulieu, the vision that we share, it's a quest to make the highest interpretation of Cabernet Sauvignon that we can, but within this really great historical context.
My great-grandfather was very much a perfectionist, and he really was always striving for quality. Diageo and the people that have worked so hard to continue the reputation, the classicness of Beaulieu, giving great pleasure to people that enjoy the world of wine. The caliber of the wine that's being produced is something that he and my great-grandmother would be very proud of.
As always, please enjoy our wines responsibly.